Welcome everybody to the 231st episode of the Focus TV, joined as always by Octavia Wyatt, Raymond Lyons, Cardell Dudley Jr., Wilson Tarpe Jr., and again, we got a lot to get through. We told you guys last week, more and more things we're going to get going. It means more and more segments are being added to our show. You guys already know the type of time we're working with, so we're not going to delay. Octavia, NFC East, how'd it go this weekend?
I would first like to say that I'm here. We'll start with that. And Cardell's here. So that should at least tell you 2 out of the 4 teams this week. So I'll go ahead and yeah, we talked about that on Sunday. So I'll go ahead and I'll recap that as well. I'll start with that because while we're here, both of us probably have different things that we could talk about from those games. But we'll go ahead and start with the Washington football team, who lost to the Denver Broncos. They lost to the Broncos. Broncos had 17. Washington football team had 10. Tyler Heineke, 24-39, 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 1 carry for 10 yards. Jarrett Patterson had 11 carries for 46 yards. J.D. McKissick, 8 receptions for 83 yards, 3 carries for 10 yards. And DeAndre Carter had 3 receptions for 51 yards and 1 touchdown. Touched on it on Sunday. Just it didn't seem like either team wanted to win the game. Just kind of decided like who wants to lose. Let's see. But at the end of the game, the defense for the Broncos was probably the brightest point that they had in the game. They were able to pretty much kind of lock them down. Justin Simmons with 2 interceptions in that game. Tyler Heineke just again is not it. But at the end of the game, which was probably the most interesting because most of the game was a defensive game. Like I said, the Washington front wasn't too bad this week. It's just their offense is just not it. At this point, they might as well just go ahead and start looking into, I would say, just see what Kyle Allen can do. I mean, we've seen them before. We know that neither one of them are really the answer. But at this point, I feel like they need some type of spark because, again, yes, we're getting closer to the potential time that Fitzpatrick was supposed to come back last I checked. But they need something. And Tyler Heineke, again, like I've said every week, is not it. Maybe Kyle Allen can provide some type of spark for them. They do get a bye this week, so they'll have some time to decide on that. But it's just not looking good for them. The funniest thing that I have that I can really say about this game is we talked about the kicking in the game. Dustin Hopkins, of course, was released, and they signed a brand new kicker whose last name is Blewett. And man, has he blown it a lot. He had 2 of his field goals blocked in this game. He had 1 in his first game. I mean, I think it was a good idea to switch it up because I felt like Dustin Hopkins wasn't really that reliable for them coming up lately. But man, Chris Blewett he's just not doing well. Yes, he's a rookie, so of course, you want to give him some grace. But those 2 field goals that were blocked was potentially 6 points that could have changed the game for them. Last but not least, Taylor Heineke needs to learn how to throw a Hail Mary. You got to keep it in the end zone so they could try to catch it. If you throw it out the back of the end zone, I mean, you just wasted our time. So Washington football team back to the drawing board. They'll play again in a few weeks because they're on a bye. I'll go ahead and get into my Eagles. Played the Lions this week. Again, like I said, if they would have lost, I would not have been here. So they did beat the Lions 44-6. Jalen Hurts was 9 for 14, 103 yards, 7 carries for 71 yards. Boston Scott had 12 carries for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Howard had 12 carries for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Dallas Goedert had 6 receptions for 72 yards. I feel like I'm saying this again every week, but I'm finally happy that the coach has remembered that we do have a running game. Seems to have waited until our number 1 running back went on IR. Right now it's looking like running back by committee. Completely forgot Justin Howard was even on the Philadelphia Eagles because he has been hiding on the practice squad. But you can see that, he still has potential. He definitely should play a little bit more. It's kind of weird. We talked about on Sunday where you see a stat line for Jalen Hurts for 9 of 14, 103 yards. He's been pretty much in the 200s pretty much every game this year. But they actually ran the ball this week. Like I said, Boston Scott had 60 yards. Justin Howard had 57 yards. Hurts led the pack with 71 yards in rushing. So they finally did that. The defense finally showed up. There were 6 sacks. They had 6 sacks with Josh Sweat having 2. Milton Williams got 1. Hassan Ridgeway, Derek Barnett, and Taron Jackson each all had 1. Fletcher Cox is still up there. We can have it. There was some talks about potential trading today, which I just thought was asinine, but it did not happen. He will be staying in Philadelphia. They did, however, pick up a cornerback, I believe from the Broncos, a Kerry Vincent. I have to look at it again. For whatever reason, it seems like we're stockpiling secondaries, but it's a bunch of people who probably are still very, very young, and they're going to have to develop, but this is what's happening. But they will play the Chargers next week. You talked to me probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, I probably would be a lot more, for lack of a better term, scared for this game. But the Chargers have been a little bit iffy lately. Now, of course, they definitely still have the potential to run the Eagles out of the stadium. But I feel like if they are able to build upon this game, and if the Chargers continuously have, bad games like they've been having, it could be a good game. But again, I'm not holding my breath. Another team that won this week, which of course they always win, is the Cowboys. They played the Vikings this week. They beat the Vikings 20-16. Cooper Rush was 24 of 40, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 carry for 2 yards, 1 fumble loss. Ezekiel Elliott had 16 carries for 50 yards and 4 receptions for 23 yards. Amari Cooper, 8 receptions, 122 yards, and 1 touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 6 receptions, 112 yards. Cedric Wilson, 3 receptions, 84 yards, and 1 touchdown. I don't even know what else we're supposed to say at this point. It pains me to say it every week, but I cannot be a hater forever. The Cowboys are good. They're good. They're really, really good. They did all of this without Dak Prescott. A lot of people were concerned with Cooper Rush playing this week, especially at being a game time decision. How much time did he really have? But he took majority of the first team reps throughout the week. He was 24 of 40, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. He had a 92.2 passer rating. And against the Vikings, whose defense was ranked 12th, wasn't really expecting it for it to be a passing game. I really thought that they were going to have to, hand the ball off to Zeke, hand the ball off to Tony. But Cooper Rush was out there throwing the ball around, and it seems like they have a legitimate backup. Now, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because there's a lot of talk about if Dak is going to be able to play in the next game. Do they rest him? Because clearly they're going to win the NFC East. But it seems like, they definitely want to get that bye. We know with the new playoff format, there is only one team that will get a first round bye. And I'm sure that they really want that. So we'll see how that goes. The defense, of course, still amazing. Trayvon Diggs did not get an interception this week, which is weird. But you can still see that the defense for the Cowboys is able to withstand a lot against, Kirk Cousins. The only thing that I'll say about the Cowboys in this game was there were a lot of unnecessary penalties. Some of the penalties weren't really penalties, but they were called and they kind of ruined, they kind of elongated some of the series that the Vikings had. So that would be the one thing that they would probably want to just clean up a little bit. I know we talk about McCarthy a lot in his decision-making and his time management. He actually paid attention this week, close to the end of the game. They had pretty much all of their good pass rushers off the field in a critical play. Called timeout, was able to get Randy Gregory, Michael Parsons back in, and which was a big oversight that somebody could have missed, though. Shouts out to McCarthy for doing what he's supposed to do, being the coach. The Cowboys will play the Broncos next week, so I don't know who will be here, who won't be here, but we'll see how that goes. Last but not least, Monday night games. Giants played the Chiefs, and the Giants made it closer than I thought it would be. But they still lost to the Chiefs. The Chiefs had 20, Giants had 17. Jones was 22 of 32, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 5 carries for 12 yards. Devontae Booker had 15 carries for 60 yards. John Ross, 2 receptions for 72 yards. Evan Ingram, 3 receptions for 15 yards and 1 touchdown, and Kyle Rudolph, 2 receptions, 12 yards for 1 touchdown. I mean, this was really their game. Again, it happens to be that they have a lot of miscues and a lot of missed opportunities. To have it as close as it was against the Chiefs, although we know the Chiefs are not playing regular Chief ball. Again, another consecutive game with Patrick Mahomes throwing an interception off of a tipped pass. Again, this time it was Jerick McKinnon, and it's just not boding well for them. But again, you play who's in front of you, and the Giants played decent in the first half. They played well enough where they could have won the game. Many maybe have said should have won the game. Now, like I said, he threw. Dan Jones threw for 222 passes, 222 yards. Excuse me. He threw a 50-yarder to John Ross, who was being covered by Sorensen, who's been horrible this year. It looks like that they decided they found the right person to pick on. But again, another missed opportunity for them. They were able to intercept Patrick Mahomes again in a key situation, but it was negated because of a penalty on the offensive line. I'm sorry, on the defensive line again. So again, they're beating themselves a lot of times. This was a critical point for them. They could have won this game and would have possibly pretty much put the Chiefs out of playoff contention. If they would have gone below 500 this late in the season, as well as the rest of the people in their division are doing, it would have been a little bit more difficult. But again, they weren't able to do it. I'm not surprised. Still missing Saquon, still missing Kenny Golladay. Kadarius Toney went out with a thumb injury, so he's racking up the injuries now. And while we talk about the penalties, the Giants had 10 penalties for 88 yards. I mean, the Chiefs had 12 for 103 yards. So flags were flying all day long, but the Chiefs were able to be victorious. And the Giants will play against the Raiders next week, so I don't think it's going to get too much better. But I'm sure they're keeping their fingers crossed. But it's not looking too good for the NFC East outside of the Cowboys, as usual.
I'm happy that
I'm not sure the Broncos will show up next week. We're trading everybody, so that's the Cowboys.
I know, man. It was kind of sad to see Von Miller get traded, to see, his reaction and everything. I mean, it kind of reminded me of what happened to me with Zach Ertz when he got traded away. It just seems like they're trying to get him somewhere where, he could possibly win a ring before they retire and hang it up. But it's looking a little scary out there in LA with the Rams now that Von Miller's out there. Not that it wasn't before, but it's looking a little bit more bleak out there.
Again, apologies, Wilson. John Elway. This is John Elway effect.
Sir?
Man, you feel my pain.
Sir, I have maintained my stance. Whatever happens while
Yes.
10 is under center, I do not care. I'm so zen about this. I don't care. This season doesn't start until it's 5's team. I just don't care. Last week,
Listen,
who cares?
Definitely maintain that.
This doesn't matter.
he
And
shouldn't
you also
get
know my rule,
it
right?
against the Rams.
You know my
Look, why
rule.
do that to him?
That's what I'm saying. Let James ride this, crash this plane all the way to the end. Stay with it. Don't get off shit. now.
Don't
This
mess
is
up
your
that young
fault.
boy. Don't mess up the young fella.
No,
Nope.
at all. Come back next
I'll
year
take
with
all
other
that.
people your age. Let some of the old people leave the Rams once they finish this year. And y'all know my rule. Somebody good comes off a good team. Where do they go? NFC West. There's always a roster
You
spot.
do.
Shout out to
That's
Denver.
definitely true.
And people are all like, the salary cap doesn't exist. No, it exists when teams do stuff. The Broncos are paying the man's salary. That's why the Rams can afford it. So thank you, Mr. Elway. The Rams, I'm not even mad at y'all. Like if essentially
Boy, that-
you guys were like, hey, can you give us picks that you don't want to use to rent a pass rusher? Sure, why not? You only get to play third downs anyway. Come on down, buddy. I can't get
He
mad at
said rent
that.
a pass
And
rusher.
this is and ladies and gentlemen, this is proof that it doesn't matter if you played the game before. You could still be one of the worst in the front office ever. Go ahead, Wilson.
This is a fact.
Look,
This is a
passing on
proven-
Lamar should warrant you never working again. Passing on Lamar should warrant you never working again. Now look at everything that has transferred. Just go ahead, Wilson. Don't even get me started. Don't get me started.
Hey, look, I get it. Not to that degree, but I get it. That 2017 year was 2017, and then Lamar's year was bad for several teams that had opportunities to get quarterbacks and passed on it. And some people had to pay for their sins. That's why I don't care what
Shout
happens
out,
until 5's here. We had to pay for our sins, you know.
shout
You
out
said
Payne
shout
Manning
out
for
Peyton.
getting us a bowl.
Yes.
Yeah, Gary Kubiak. That other guy gets no love.
Oh man. We go past this on the Keith for this week's Pass Well segment. And then we're gonna take our first break. When we get back to that, Ray's gonna talk to you guys, fill you guys in with the latest with the Wizards and the Go-Go, because they just had their media day, give you some notes on that. And then the college basketball segment is back. Cordell got out the GW. I had a chance to get out to College Park for like the first time in forever. So, some sense of normalcy on that side is coming back. But enjoy the Pac-12. We'll see you guys soon.
What's up, guys? I'm back. Another week of talking about the Pac-12. Let's get right into it. First game we're going to cover is Washington State defeating ASU 34-21. Now, this past week was ASU's homecoming, so obviously it was a big game, and unfortunately we came out with the loss. Some people are going to overreact and say, yes, we did have 4 turnovers in the first half, which is inexcusable in itself. But sometimes like in college football, you always have upsets. No one expected Washington State to defeat ASU. No one did. But it happened because it's an upset. That's exactly what happens in college football. Sometimes you have the wrong game plan. Things don't go your way. It just happens. We had 2 fumbles between our running backs. We had 2 interceptions from Jaden Daniels. It was all around not the right, like everything collide when we needed it to, thus leading to us falling to Washington State. It was a very disappointing loss. Nonetheless, it's always on to next week. Jaden Daniels has to take care of the ball. We have to fix the fumbling issue because those win or lose games. But nonetheless, Washington State played their best. Delora came out with 234, 2-1. So he didn't play like his best game like he has in past weeks. We still slowed him down, but he still came out and got the job done. Washington State defeated ASU, and they did it by flying colors. They put their game plan together, and that's what was able to make ASU struggle, causes turnovers, get confusion going. And when confusion is going, it's never a good thing. Oregon rolled past Colorado 52-29. Oregon has become one of the top 10 teams in the country, easily, no doubt, with their defense playing well. When you have a number 1 pick on your defense, especially when he's as good as Kayvon Thibodeau, it's kind of hard not to be that good. Nonetheless, Brandon Lewis still came out with 234 and 4 and got the job done offensively. Defensively is where the problem lies. Anthony Brown had 307 and 3. You cannot allow that to a quarterback who's been struggling. You never want to be that game that a quarterback uses to bounce back. Unfortunately, Colorado was. He had 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns. And then you've got Travis Dye, who also had 2 touchdowns. It's never a good combination when Oregon's defense is playing well and their running back and quarterback are both having good games. That's never the recipe to beat Oregon. You're never going to get the job done that way. Oregon State fell to Cal 39-14. Chase Garbers has continued the streak of playing well. He has increased his level of play when it comes to rushing and passing. He's had 262 yards, which is a good amount. It gets the job done. 3 touchdowns. You don't see on a consistent basis quarterbacks dropping 250 plus yards as Chase Garbers has done. Especially even if you look at the total yards, he's gotten the job done. But Damian Moore, the running back, had 11 carries for 111 yards and a score. That's kind of funny, isn't it? 111. I thought it was pretty funny. A lot of ones in there. 1 score, 11 carries, 111 yards. I thought that was funny when I was watching the game and looking at it. The leading wide receiver, Trevon Clark, five catches for 90 yards and a score. which is always good to have that guy you can go to and trust as a quarterback when you know you can target a guy, even on your cold days or your hot days. It's always good when you have that connection with the receiver. Just look at Tom Brady, for instance, when he has Julian Edelman or Russ Welker, when he has these guys he knew he could go to, and he would always go to them no matter if he was hot or cold. It was always one of them. On to USC. They just got past Arizona 41-34. This was a tight game, but I do come bearing some extremely unfortunate news. Drake London did experience a knee injury to where he is now out for the year. But prior to his knee injury, he had 9 catches, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So it's like the guy went out in the second half, but even before then, he was putting up elite numbers. You do not hear in college football guys having 9+ catches, 80+ yards, and multiple touchdowns on a daily basis. I do not remember the last time I spoke about Drake London where he did not have over those stats. He has came to play every week, and the only reason I could see him not going high in the first round is because of this unfortunate knee injury. But USC does have a really good backup quarterback, a young freshman by the name of Jackson Dart, who had 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. He played in, I believe it was the Washington State game, and he outperformed Slavis has this entire year. He just looked amazing when he played, and it was raining, and still looked amazing. Slavis, though, had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 204 yards. So it's really who you prefer type of thing in that situation. I would prefer Jackson Dart, though. He looks really well. His fundamentals are there. His release is amazing. Footwork amazing. I think that guy has through the roof potential and could make it to the league. I also think Slavis, if he hasn't really played that well this year, but he may potentially transfer next year because Jackson Dart will take that starting spot, no doubt in my mind. Cavante Ingram, though, had 204 rushing yards and 1 score, so that guy has been balling nonstop. He's been the one consistent thing outside of Drake London. It's literally just been that quarterback situation for USC. But the running back, the wide receivers, they've been there. They've continued to stay consistent. Utah defeats UCLA, but this one kind of has a question mark around it. I mean, they beat them 44-24, and yes, the defense was there. Everybody was healthy. But DTR didn't play. Charbonnet only had 2 carries, which makes me think, excuse me, which kind of confuses me a bit. It's why didn't he play? I know why DTR didn't play. Why is Charbonnet only getting 2 carries? This guy has been consistent, like the epitome of consistency for UCLA's offense, and yet he's only getting 2 carries. So that's questionable. Nonetheless, UCLA's defense could not stop Tavion Thomas, the running back for Utah. 160 yards, 160, and not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 touchdowns on the run. When you have a guy that's that hot, it's nothing you can do. Nothing at all. You can try to stop him, but clearly they tried and they didn't. They couldn't do it. Like, it's no way you allow 4 rushing touchdowns. That's inexcusable. But Washington beat Stanford 20-13. Washington had 2 rushers of 99 plus. Sean McGrew had 19 carries, 114 yards, and Cameron Davis 99 yards on 18 carries. That is crucial to have the running game. And as you can see, there's been a path to winning these Pac-12 games this year. It's been controlling the run game and making sure that you have guys on guys. You always hear the first running back is dominating, then the backup running back continues that domination, and it's when you put those two together, the defense struggles, and it opens the game for the quarterback and makes his life a lot easier. Nonetheless, we had a great week of Pac-12 football. I will be back next week. USC plays ASU. Unfortunately, I won't get to see Drake London in my face, but I will get to see first-round pick Drake Jackson, right outside linebacker. You guys should keep an eye out on him. He has been impressive with his swim moves, and he's been getting double-teamed all year and still been making noise. So continue to watch him. I'll have it in my face, and I'll make sure to get back to you guys next week.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. Special thanks to Keith for knocking out this week's Pac-12 segment. They get it in that conference each and every week. If you guys get an opportunity, definitely check that out. All right, Ray. Wizards update. Go. Floor is yours, sir.
All right, yeah. Wizards, man, they coming off a loss to the Atlanta Hawks. It was just a choppy game all around. They never got into an offensive flow. But they still fought to the end. Now we talked about it on Wizards Outlook. The fact that they didn't play anywhere near their best and was still going toe to toe with the Hawks and just made it a game throughout. It just kind of speaks volumes about the strides that this team is taking. In that game, they kind of settled for the three too much, but that was due to Atlanta's defensive scheme. They threw a lot of different looks at the Wizards. They zoned up at times. They threw double teams and traps from everywhere. And they pretty much forced the Wizards to beat them from outside, and the Wizards just weren't able to adjust. And it kind of played right into the Hawks' hands, and Atlanta was able to get the win. It was a revenge game for them because they came up to DC last week, and the Wizards got a victory. So Atlanta was definitely had this one circled, and they protected home court. Wizards be back in action tomorrow at home against Toronto. They beat the Raptors opening night. It was their best performance of the season, pretty much. Especially on the defensive side of the ball, where where a lot of the focus is going to be for them this year. Ever since Weston Sale Jr. was hired, that's what he's been preaching. This team is going to hang their hat on their defense. And we've been seeing spurts of it. Through these first 7 games. Nobody's expecting it to be perfect this early. Just want to see continuous improvement. And we have. Of course, there's been some downtimes, but this thing is not going to get fixed in the first 2 weeks of the season. So we're just looking forward to them continuing to improve, continuing to learn each other and trust each other. And when they're on it defensively, man, they're a force on that end. They got Gaff in the middle protecting the rim. They got a lot of rangy, long defenders on the wing. And guys are just getting after it. Bradley Beal, for one, through these first 7 games, his effort on that end of the floor is already looks better than last year. That was a focus for him. That's something they talked about preseason. Just him kind of stepping it up on that end. Then off the bench, you got Aaron Holiday, Neto being pests, and then of course Montrezl Harrell, handling things down low. So, man, it's a lot to be optimistic about with this team, man. They're sitting at 5-2. That's a far cry better than what we've been seeing in the last couple of years. So, man, it just looking forward to them maximizing their potential, man. It's the trade is already paying dividends. They got guys in here with experience who are able to kind of push them through these rough patches because they've had a couple already this season. But for the most part, they've been able to fight through. Spencer Dinwiddie has been an invaluable addition, giving them somebody else that can control the game and set the pace. It's pretty pretty damn impossible to speed him up. He plays his way at all times, and he's a great compliment to Bradley Beal. And even with Bradley Beal's offense kind of not getting going, the last couple games he's had good outings, and we know that's going to come for him because that's what he does in this league. He scores the basketball, but the way he stepped it up on the defensive end, it's only going to help. So yeah, man. Like I said, they're 5-2. Got Toronto at home tomorrow. They're undefeated at home so far this season. So, they should fare well in that game. But yeah, man, just looking forward to them continuing to make strides. And also moving forward to the Go-Go. They had their media day yesterday. I was on that call. They're Go-Go, they're in a unique position. It's literally an entirely new franchise. Since we last saw them in 2019, they have a completely new roster, a new GM, and a new head coach. And it's a lot of good energy surrounding that, and they're just kind of taking that and using it to their advantage and kind of making that their identity. The Amber Nichols just kind of looks at it as a new beginning, which it is for pretty much everybody involved. This is kind of a uncharted territory for for a G League team. It's really rare that they go into a season just with 100% turnover. But yeah, man, they got a good roster. A lot of young guys with some upside. They're looking at Cassius Winston to pretty much be the leader of this team. Just to tell you how young this team is. Cassius is in his second year as a pro, and he's looked at as the veteran. So, but he does have a lot of good experience. He spent 4 years at Michigan State. And a guy that spends that much time with Tom Izzo is well prepared. It's there's no doubt about that. And he played in the bubble last year. He spent some time with the Wizards of Summer League. So he's going to be the one to kind of guide this team. But even still, he's young himself, so he's got a lot to learn. They have the youngest coach in the NBA and G League, and Mike Williams. He's 25 years old, so he's basically the same age as the players. But they said that's a benefit for them. Every player that spoke about how good it is to have a coach that can relate to him, but he's able to garner their respect with his knowledge of the game and the way he carries himself. So that should be a pretty good mix with him guiding them throughout the season. And one of the things he harped on was that they want to develop, but they also want to be successful and win games, which I'm sure is the goal for every G League team. But those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can get guys and push them through and get them to the next level and still be able to compete in the G League, which is what they want to do. Amber Nichols echoed that as well, saying she wants to get those Exhibit 10 contracts called up. She wants to get those two-way contracts converted, man. So it's not about just solely focusing on G League success, but allowing your guys to progress as well. So man, it's going to be an exciting season, man. It's good to have them back. They skipped the bubble last year. They kind of did a joint effort with the Erie Bayhawks with some of the guys playing for that team, just so they can get some reps in. So yeah, man, it's good to have them back full time. Looking forward to this new chapter. They're a young G League franchise, but for them to already kind of have two phases already, it's it's weird, but it's exciting times, man. All the players seem excited. The coach seems excited. Amber seems excited. So yeah, man, we're just ready for them to get things started.
Yes, we definitely are. Again, that means Wizards and Go-Go segments on the regular. Look forward to Go-Go games. We're going to have some fun days where, Wizards games away, Go-Go games at home, a bunch of college basketball teams playing. Looking forward to a very, very busy schedule. We're going to get to the 9-4-50 breakdown. Jamal Hayward's back this week, breaking down a hang dribble coming off screens and scoring options into it again. A hang dribble coming off screens and scoring options into it. That'll be followed by our second break. When we get back, Cardell's going to talk some GW hoops.
Back to options. On the screen, more hard. You got a hand dribble. All right. So with your hand dribble, you shoot three. Up to you. Or second option is easy. Layup. So make sure you set it. Go. Now with your head, take a straight from me. Make sure you bring your left hand to the ball. Here, make sure this right hand is shooting with normally comes close to the left hand comes close to the ball. Alright, the next one. Again, it's up.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. As always, want to thank Jamal Hayward for the 9-450 breakdown. Cardell, GW basketball.
Yeah, the men's side of things for GW had their first exhibition game last night against Hood College, a D3 program out of Frederick, Maryland. It went as how most would probably expect. GW jumped on them right away and pretty much just stayed on them until the final buzzer sounded. They defeated Hood 93-51. They had a lead, but they led by as much as 45 points at one point in the second half. They were just bigger, more seasoned, more experienced, and with no disrespect to Hood, because they competed throughout the game. That's one thing I love. GW is just more talented across the board. The size difference just showed it was just glaring. You know what I mean? Like GW, well, for Hood College, they had centers that was 6'6". That was a 2-guard for the GW. You know what I mean? They had multiple guys, 6'10", 6'11". Hunter Dean is an athlete. He was big, and they just beat him up inside. They outscored Hood 42-28 in the paint, and they just pretty much had their way. They held Hood to 30% shooting from the field, 15% shooting from three-point range, and 17 turnovers. Meanwhile, GW shot 54% from the field and 36% from deep in their own right. GW was led by junior guard James Bishop, who finished with a game high 22 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. Expect to hear his name a lot. I know he's preseason all conference. I expect him to have an all-conference season, just a matter of which team he would be named to. I felt like he should have been named to one of the teams last year. When you lead the conference in scoring, I mean, that pretty much means you're getting it done. He's very talented. I call him the A10 James Harden because they have the similar styles. He's not as big as James Harden. Not as tall, but they have the same type of crafty moves. Both can score from 3 levels. Both are efficient shooters as well as being, crafty scorers, and they can play make for others. And one thing I saw with Bishop yesterday, and I saw throughout the preseason when I had the chance to check out their practice, was that he's improved defensively. You know what I mean? So that's the difference. I'm not going to clown, but you know what I mean? That's just what it is. In college, you can't get away with that. Also, GW hadn't got the biggest, like I said, from Hunter Dean, 6'10", junior forward, finished with a double-double, 15 points and 11 rebounds. While freshman guard Brayden Freeman and sophomore center Noel Brown contributed 12 points each. You'll hear a lot about Brayden Freeman as well. He's their prize recruit from the area. Play AAU for New World. Just a lethal he's a lethal two-way point guard. Obviously, he won't play a lot of point guard with Bishop did this year as a freshman, but he'll be able to get on the ball in spurts. But the one thing they're looking for him to do is definitely defend. He's a pest defensively guard, 94 feet, and just hit open shots. In high school, he was a natural scorer. He can fill it up. The thing that has transitioned well for him is his defense, and you saw it on display in this game as well. So like I said, Hood was just overmatched for the most part. So I'm eager to see them, see what GW does next week in their home opener, season opener against St. Francis in the doubleheader. I'll also be covering the women's game as well. They tip off before the men's, and at 5:30 they play American. Hood College was led by senior point guard Mason Wayne. He's their all-conference point guard. Remember, Hood College is a Division III school, so he's a Division III All-American candidate. Mason Wayne, he led the Blazers with 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. For the full recap, just get over to finestmag.com. It's up in the article format and the video format, and I provide a deep breakdown of what happened last night.
All right, moving on to Maryland women's. Like Cardell said, it's that time of year where, teams are getting into their exhibition season before they get into the non-conference schedules, just to, get some live action, get some reps, because it's more than needed. As for Maryland, they started their 21-22 campaign. They took on Fairmont State. They won 120-67. Sierra Kochman led Fairmont with 21 points. She did most of her damage from beyond the arc. Then she went 5 of 11 from 3. For a little while there in the first half, she was her team's offense. And, she was one of the few on her team that was able to get free and get loose and knock down shots. And Maryland's length didn't bother her too much. As for Maryland, Their defense is ahead of their offense right now, which is in a shock. They got out to a good start because of their defense, but the game kind of blew open when Katie Benson got going. She had a game high 22. She scored 11 of them in the second quarter. Angel Reese had 21 and 11. Ashley Owusu, if you can call it quiet, had a quiet 18, 5 and 4. Ty Kozlova added 16, and freshman Cheyenne Sellers had 15. They look like a team playing their first live action of the year. I'll keep you guys updated if you guys want a more in-depth recap. Head over to thefocustv.com. Got into some of the things that I took from that game. But up next, Maryland will be hosting Georgian Court on Thursday at Xfinity. I believe that game starts at 6. So if you guys show up to that one, give us a shout. Let us know. As for DC United, told you guys have been, last time we talked to you, they still control their own destiny. It is no longer up to them completely. Now, last time we spoke, things, there was still a chance, and there's still some positivity. Last Wednesday, that is, they hosted the Red Bulls. They beat them 1-0. Kevin Paredes scored early, and then DC United was able to hold the Red Bulls down. Bill Meade got, I think it was a 78th career shutout, so shout out to him for that. But on Saturday, very big game. They hosted another team trying to frantically make the postseason in the Columbus Crew. And, similar to the game on Wednesday, Paul Areola, as you see, he got DC United on the board early. But then Columbus got going. They will win this one 3-1. The game kind of changed at the end of the first half. Zella Rayan, he was fouled by Tony Alfaro in the box. So they went into the half 1-1 instead of 1-0. Then in a 10-minute spurt in the second half, Columbus took control of the game. They got both the go-ahead goal and then the eventual dagger. It was tough for DC United because as much as they fought this year, in a pivotal month, they needed to be good this month. In the month of not this month, but this last month, in the month of October, they went 1-4-1, and that was really that last stretch to make the postseason. They haven't been mathematically eliminated. But they're going to need some help now. Like I said, it's no longer under their control. So they'll be taking on Toronto FC on Sunday. I believe it's on the road. They need all 3 points. They need a result. They have to win that one. And then that's just the first part of it. One, you have to win. Two, and they need a little bit of help. Because if they win and Columbus wins, I think Columbus has the tiebreaker over them. So, again, they're going to need some help. I'll update you guys next week to see how things, if they're in the postseason or not, to keep it that simple. Cardell, rapid fire, what you got for us this week?
The NBA pleased with the progress in officiating non-basketball. Still there?
Yep.
All right, I thought the sound went on. Crazy sound. All right, back to it. So the NBA is pleased with progress in officiating non-basketball moves. You said it sees no evidence of increased physicality. Monty McCutcheon, the NBA's vice president of referee development and training, said Tuesday afternoon that he's pleased with the league's progress toward eliminating foul calls on non-basketball moves. He added that his officials are still working to strike the right balance between not calling those non-basketball moves and missing some defensive fouls, and that the league is still committed to offensive players not being held and grabbed, what the league refers to as freedom of movement. The referees have done an excellent job, McCutcheon said on the conference call. He said, I think in any of this, there's some adjustment period on the shooting foul itself as to what constitutes the things we're asking. There have been a few instances, nothing that's raised to a significant level where we will still want a defensive foul, where it's getting lumped into a non-basketball move. We're in the middle of that adjustment period with the staff. We have staff calls at a higher cadence than we would when we're not implementing something as significant as this, and we're showing them examples so that we can adjust in real time to meet the demands of the league. But to be clear, we love where the game has been from a freedom of movement perspective over the last few years. And we do not want to give that up in any way. And the directive will be, and will continue to adjust on my end, that we continue to keep that freedom of movement in place. Just what are your thoughts on, what McCutcheon had to say as far as, the officiating on non-basketball moves, but still trying to maintain the freedom of movement. You know, you're hearing a lot of players complain about not getting foul calls and whatnot, but where do you guys stand with that? We'll start with you, Octavia.
I love it. I'm tired of, the only thing I don't love is everybody that's complaining. It's a lot of, like you said, complaining or whatever they want to say. But I think it makes the game more pure. It gets it back to it being the game instead of, like I said last week, about, instead of you actually trying to score, you're just throwing your body any which way just to get a foul so you can get to the free throw line and score. If you're really that good, you shouldn't need to do that, and we talk about, players playing in this age and playing in the previous eras, and we know how tougher it was to play back then. So you guys do all that talk about how easy it was to play back then. Now you're getting a little bit of a small sample size of how it was to play back then, and you're already complaining. So I'm not surprised. I love the way it's going. I hope they continue to go. Of course, there are going to be, challenges and things, and it's nice to hear McCutcheon, talk about that and know that they are still evaluating, they are still trying to adjust to make sure that they are still holding the defense accountable when it does come down to fouls. But all of that unnatural basketball movement, throwing your legs which way, throwing your head this way, your arm, I'm so glad they've cut all of that out, because it just shows who's really about that life, like who's really a pure scorer, who can really score, who can really has been in the weight room and can take the contact and continue to score. So a lot of people aren't complaining, but look at the ones who are complaining. It should tell you something.
Thanks. Ray.
Yeah, if they're complaining about officials even borderline slightly giving the defense a chance, then, I mean, we can just go ahead and cancel all that about what they would have done in previous areas, because if they complain about this stuff, then imagine being hand checked and being elbowed when you're cutting across the lane and being held and people really being physical with you. So, yeah, let's just end that conversation right now, because clearly, they wouldn't be able to handle it. I'm going to just say it straight up, because they're obviously complaining about this. And then them making excuses about shooting percentages with a new basketball and all this other stuff. No, people just are allowed to play a little bit of defense now. So that's just what it is. If you disagree, I'm sure Rodney can throw up my social handles and we can talk about it there. But yeah, man, I'm glad, because it was getting ridiculous. Guys getting to the line 14 times a game. And if you're getting that honestly, and you're attacking and putting pressure on defenders, and they're fouling you because, you're making them foul you, then that's cool. But, all this nonsense, man, get it out of here. I'm glad they're doing something about it. The games are more enjoyable to watch, without people just flailing everywhere, like Octavia said. And my favorite thing to watch has been people trying to do the stuff they've been getting away with and the ref not calling it, and then them looking at the ref like, why didn't you call it? Well, I didn't call it because we let you guys know that we're not calling it anymore. So get your ass back on defense and play basketball. That's so. Yeah, man, I'm happy. And I like you said, they want to keep the freedom of movement. That is what it is, man. I'm not asking to go all the way back the other way, even though I would love to see it just to see how players react. But if they're not going to go that route, it is what it is, man. But that stuff that was going on before, I'm extremely happy they got rid of that, because it was getting foolish, man. So yeah, kudos to them, and I hope they keep it up the entire season.
Wilson.
Oh no, I don't know how to follow either one of those two after what they laid out. Octavia, question folks want to. Ray threw down the social gauntlet. Look, man, I don't know what to do. Some of the best players in the league is business as usual. For the rest, there's levels to this. I have nothing else to say. Y'all been hacking that little light-skinned dude for like 12 years. They changed the rules, and he's allowed it to go to the free throw line all of a sudden. I don't want to hear some of y'all's excuse. Like, y'all been holding him, hacking him, kicking him, punching him for years. The refs evened it up a little bit. He's going to the line at career high 6.8 times per game. And a bunch of y'all can't shoot remotely like him. So maybe stop hunting fouls, change your game, work on your game, and get over it. Or move the ball. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm going to continue to laugh. I love the energy and the disposition the refs have when you look at them and they look back at you dead in your face like, did you practice that? I've been thoroughly enjoying the body language from the refs, but it's like, man, I thought that was a foul. I thought we told you. I think you should lift. I think you should kick that ball out and probably repost it. So, that's where I'm at with it. But a shout out to some of those players still doing, I don't know what it is they're really good at and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. My parting shot. My bad. I had one thing. My parting shot. Kevin shooting 58 from the floor. Do with that what you will. That's all I got.
Right, man. And that light-skinned dude you talking about, like I said, he's leading the score right now. So, and he's having no issue whatsoever. But I was just told that today's players are bigger, stronger, faster than ever before. So it should be no problem. I just don't understand what the complaint is about. You should be able to play through all that. But like I said, it's been a lot of false advertisement over the last few years. A lot of guys being pumped up to be something that they're not. And we're just seeing that they were all right. You know what I mean? So really clear. It's really clear. Either adjust or I don't know, man. You're gonna get replaced. Your rules won't have to change. It's as simple as that. But moving on to the next one. Actually, the final question. Trouble in Boston, man. They struggling bad. Marcus Smart. He says Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown has the ball more for the Celtics to win. After they blew a 19-point third quarter lead, got outscored 39-11 in the fourth quarter. They lost to the Bulls 128-114. Marcus Smart in the post game was obviously frustrated. Starting point guard, he plays a lot off the ball. We all know that Jalen and Jason, they have the ball in their hands a lot as scorers and shot creators. But in the fourth quarter against the Bulls, they combined to shoot 1 of 10. Smart said that the stars need to give up the ball more, get teams the ball. So every team knows we're trying to go to Jason and Jalen. Every team is programmed and studied to stop Jason and Jalen. I think everybody's scouting reports make those guys pass the ball. They don't want to pass the ball. It's something that they're going to learn. They're still learning. Proud of the progress they're making, but they're going to have to make another step and find ways to create for themselves and others on this team to open up the court for them later down in the game. It's something we've been asking them to do, and they're learning. Just what are your thoughts on Marcus Smart's comments, openly criticizing Tatum and Brown and indirectly criticizing their new head coach? We can start with you, right?
Yeah, that was that's tough in a post-game interview, man. Like, ooh. I mean, he wasn't exactly wrong, but I would say you can't go that hard in that setting, man. I'm sorry. Like, have that talk in house and then get your point across a different way in public. Like, I'm never a big fan of airing dirty laundry. I mean, I don't know if it's really dirty laundry because it's what we seeing on the court, but at the same time, that was biting, man. Like, Jesus, But hey, man, he's got to look at those guys in the locker room the next day, and they can have a man-to-man talk about it. And I can see why he came out like that, because that's a frustrating loss. That's a tough one to deal with, and it probably just spilled out that way. And yeah, man. But again, they gave up a huge lead, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's decision making wasn't the only factor in that. So I don't know, man. Just to lay it all on them at that point in that fashion, that's tough. And I don't know if they the type of dudes to kind of have that talk like, hey man, like we get it, but yeah, don't just throw us under the bus like that. Like let's talk about it and figure it out. But yeah, that was rough, man. That's a tough soundbite. And now on top of that, I don't know if he puts more focus on himself, like, because now when you come out like that against the two stars of the team, every misstep you have is going to be magnified. So I don't know, man. It seemed like they got a lot of problems up there. They were a team that at one time was considered to be, contenders, and they haven't really been able to get over that hump. So yeah, I don't know what's going on, like with their chemistry or what that locker room is like. I'm not there. I'm not going to assume, but yeah, that was tough. That was a tough one to hear, and I was actually kind of surprised to see him, go that route in the post game.
Seems to be a trend with people getting called out in post game these days. And also right after that presser, Marcus Smart went. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown was supposed to go. They called them off. They wouldn't let them, try to deal with the storm that was coming. They wouldn't allow them to talk. So yeah, it's definitely issues there. Wilson?
Yeah. While I may agree that there's an issue and things do need to be rectified, don't do the Philly thing. Don't do all this out in public, man. Like, deal with this behind closed doors. You got a new coach. This is a horrible way to start the year, especially under a new coach. Like the worst way possible. If not for anybody else, don't let your new coach start the year off like this. Like, just deal with this in-house. That's my only issue with it. Like, points were made, but deal with this in-house. You're not 22 or 24, Marcus. This should have stayed in-house. That's all I have.
Octavia?
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of you. It's definitely something that does not need to be talked about to the press, especially, he said that they've talked about it, but just looking at some of the reports coming out, Brad Stevens talking about, like, he saw them talking the next morning at breakfast about it and how much they want to win and get it together. I just think it was a bad look. I think it was a great idea that they decided not to let Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown go out there as well, just because that would just add more fuel to the fire, just depending on how upset they were or were not in that situation. I think Marcus Smart is just frustrated because, this is the first time he's been the full-time point guard. The past couple of years, he's definitely been the backup, but he's never had to be the full-time starting point guard since Kemba has been there. And the ball is majority in his hand a lot, and he has to distribute a lot more now than he probably had to do previously. There's a lot of blame to go around everywhere on the team. But definitely, like Wilson said, you got a first-year head coach. You guys are getting used to, the season starting now. I think some of the things that we just talked about as far as the rules are affecting at least Jason Tatum, in my opinion. He's having a hard time scoring right now. Jaylen Brown is, I feel like he's had a good start to his season. But I think that's most of it. If they were winning, we wouldn't be having these conversations about who's passing who the ball and not enough times. Because Marcus Smart, you're the point guard. You should set the stage. But of course, you got to get the ball to your playmakers. Jaylen and Jason are it. We know that. But at the end of the day, this just isn't something you talk about in front of everybody. It's something you keep in-house. You're going to have, like you said, those same Philly problems that are happening now where Ben Simmons doesn't even want the 76ers help with his mental health at this point. Hopefully it doesn't get to that, because you also got to remember, if it comes down to you, Jason, or Jaylen, it's probably going to be you. So you might want to just reel it back in, because they're not going to get rid of them. If there becomes a serious issue, it's going to be you, my man. So that's something you might want to think about the next time you open your mouth. But I feel like most of it was just frustration, and it was so fresh after the game on the post game. I feel like if he did not talk, then maybe this wouldn't have come out. But you just got to make better decisions.
Yeah, speaking about Ben Simmons, what's affecting his mental health is he's still in Philly. If he gets traded, his mental health problems will go away. Just to get on that, but that's what it is. But yeah, I'm with all of y'all. I'm just not with the airing the dirty laundry. To me, is weak. We right here in the locker room. Deal with that man to man. Or look, if you feel like I'm jacking too much, say that right there on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Like we have our little exchange of talk, and we'll go from there. But that's not the only reason why they lost. Marcus Smart, you supposed to be the defender. DeRozan, 37 points, 15 to 20, 3 or 4 from 3-point range. Zach LaVine, 26. I mean, come on now. I'm like, get some stops. 15 to 20, that hurts. That's like no resistance. He ain't see nothing. Like nobody did nothing. That was shoot around, dog. So that's why y'all lost. You know what I mean? And it could be said, like we just saw Boston. They came to DC, and Jason Tatum is struggling, man. I think he's shooting 39% from the field on the season, low 20s from 3-point range. He's been struggling greatly. Jaylen Brown's efficient as hell. He's actually been their best player. We gonna call a spade a spade. He's actually been hooping. Even in this game, what he had 28, he was 10 to 18, 5-8 from 3. He should have been shooting. The Tatum is the one that's struggling, and that's the thing. When you're struggling when you're struggling like that, you got to find other ways. Especially when Al Horford had to go on 20 and 10, 8 and 15. Robert Williams was 3 and 6 and 6. Schroeder, he had 13, but he didn't shoot the ball well. It throws everything else out of the room. They gonna have to adjust, and it's warranted. But that's a conversation you can have behind closed doors, because when you start airing out dirty laundry like that, suspect, and it can destroy what little fabric y'all have left for team chemistry. You know what I mean? And it don't take much. Look at Philly as a prime example. That's pretty much why the Celtics are like, y'all not talking. They don't even want to have that situation. You know what I mean? So he was dead wrong for that. He wasn't wrong with what he said. He just wrong in how he delivered it. You know what I'm saying? Deliver that John in the locker room and leave it there. And that way, especially in this era with social media, it don't take much. That quote's gonna forever. They keep struggling, and you know what I'm saying. You honestly, indirectly, you're throwing your new coach under the bus too. You see what I'm saying? So, the thing I hate about when players do this and passing the ball and all that, bro, it's a team game, and it's many aspects to this game to help us win. They jack fine, but that's not the only reason why they lost. What I just read, where they scored 40 in the fourth quarter, and y'all only scored 11. You see what I'm saying? I mean, get some stops, dog. That's what you really there for, Marcus Smart. You really supposed to be the defender, and you had 2 guards go off on y'all. So you didn't do your job. You don't hear them calling your defense out. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. When one person do it, we can find stuff. You know what I'm saying? We can find stuff. Like, I'm that type of dude. You know what I'm saying? That's why Ben Simmons he's better man than me, because I done went in on that beating and Doc. I gave him reason to trade. I done went in. So don't do that. It's already hard enough to build chemistry. It's very fragile. When y'all supposed to stick through the tough times. Like, I love Dame's quote. He's like, man, he basically a sucker if everything not going right and you start complaining and attacking people, stuff like that. You gotta endure that, just like you gotta take the good with the bad. And this is part of it. So they got big issues. They're gonna have to do some soul searching as a team and get back to playing basketball. And one thing I see with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, stop taking hero shots. Be more efficient. Take better shots, and then you will see your efficiency grow, because they're too damn talented. I know Jalen's on one, but I think he can be even better. Jason Tatum, stop being so cute. He's taking a lot of hero shots. You know what I'm saying? And we all know that's what they practice. You see Bill, he was doing that at first. He was struggling like crazy at first. Then he got back to just, look, let me just hoop. And the Wizards are better off for it. So that's what Jason need to do. And everything can turn around. They be scoring more. They be efficient. And wins the pile up for Boston.
For sure. We want to thank you guys for hanging with us tonight. As always, before we leave, want to just take a moment, shout out our guy Rodney for winning a Telly Award along with Studio 202, which we cannot wait to get back to so bad.
Don't
but,
even remember what it looks like at this point. Jesus.
man,
Hey,
it's so bad. But again, congrats to you guys, Rodney. Thank you for each and every week dealing
Yes,
with
sir.
us, and you know, truly appreciate the petty cowboy photo earlier with both of them smiling because Octavia's team, that's all they're looking up at. So we appreciate that. And don't forget DCTV Friday nights at 10 p.m. Our Roku channel, all you got to do is real simple. If you got a Roku TV or device, just hit the search box, type in the Focus TV ad channel. That's Wednesdays that this happens each and every week. And then don't forget to get over to thefocustv.com. You guys have a great week. We'll see you guys next week. And, I'm sure there are a lot more change by then and more stuff would be said. So y'all have a good one.